ਅੱਜ ਦਾ ਆਪਣਾ ਬਲੌਗ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆ ਜੀ। ਆਪਾਂ ਜਿਹਨੇ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਫੋਨ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕੀਤਾ, ਬਣਾਇਆ, ਜਿਹਨੇ ਅਵਿਸ਼ਕਾਰ ਕੀਤਾ ਉਹਦਾ, ਤੇ ਉਹਦੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਅੱਜ ਨਾ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਮੈਂ ਫੋਟੋ ਵੀ ਵਿਖਾਉਂਗੀ। ਤਾਂ ਦੇਖੋ, ਇਸ ਆਦਮੀ ਨੇ ਨਾ ਆਪਣਾ ਫੋਨ ਦਾ ਅਵਿਸ਼ਕਾਰ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਇਹਨੇ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੈਗਾ। ਤੇ ਅੱਜ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹਦੇ ਘਰੇ ਆਏ ਹਾਂ ਤੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਇਹਦੇ ਘਰ ਦੀ ਫੋਟੋ ਵੀ ਲਵਾਂਗੇ ਤੇ ਸਾਰਾ ਬਲੌਗ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਵਿਖਾਵਾਂਗੇ। ਆਪਾਂ ਸਾਰਾ ਅੰਦਰੋਂ ਵੀ ਵਿਖਾਵਾਂਗੇ ਤੇ ਬਾਹਰੋਂ ਵੀ ਵਿਖਾਵਾਂਗੇ, ਉਹਦਾ ਘਰ ਵੀ ਵਿਖਾਵਾਂਗੇ। ਹਾਂਜੀ, ਅਸੀਂ ਹੁਣ ਨਾ ਐਂਟਰ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਉਹਦੇ ਘਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ। ਆ ਦੇਖੋ, ਆ ਉਹਦਾ ਮਕਾਨ ਹੈ। ਦੇਖੋ, ਆ ਮਕਾਨ ਆ ਉਹਦਾ। ਤੇ ਹੁਣ ਆਪਾਂ ਨਾ ਇਹਦੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਅੰਦਰ ਆਪਣਾ ਇਹਨੇ ਫੋਨ ਦਾ ਅਵਿਸ਼ਕਾਰ ਕੀਤਾ ਨਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ, ਆਪਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਵੇਖਾਂਗੇ ਇੱਥੋਂ ਜਾ ਕੇ। ਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਝ ਅਸੀਂ ਵਿਖਾ ਦਿਆਂਗੇ ਬਲੌਗ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ। ਦੇਖੋ ਕਿੰਨਾ ਵਧੀਆ ਆਦਮੀ ਸੀ, ਇੰਟੈਲੀਜੈਂਟ, ਕਿੰਨਾ ਦਿਮਾਗ ਨੇ ਕੰਮ ਕੀਤਾ। ਹੁਣ ਸਾਰੇ ਲੋਕ ਵੀਡੀਓ ਬਣਾਉਂਦੇ ਆ, ਚੈਨਲ ਵੀਡੀਓ ਵੀ ਬਣਾਉਂਦੇ ਆ, ਚੈਨਲ ਬਣਾਉਂਦੇ ਆ ਇੰਸਟਾਗ੍ਰਾਮ ਤੇ, ਫੇਸਬੁੱਕ ਤੇ, ਸਾਰੇ। ਤੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਥਰੂ ਆਪਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਕਮਾਈਆਂ ਕਰੀ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ ਨਾ। ਕਿੰਨਾ ਵਧੀਆ ਕੰਮ ਚਲਾਇਆ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ। ਦੇਖੋ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਘਰ ਵੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਸੋਹਣਾ ਹੈ। ਤੇ ਹੁਣ ਆਪਾਂ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਨਾ ਅੰਦਰੋਂ ਬਣਾਵਾਂਗੇ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਦਿਖਾਵਾਂਗੇ ਅਸੀਂ। ਫਿਰ ਆ ਦੇਖੀ ਜਾਇਓ ਕਿੰਨਾ ਵਧੀਆ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਮਕਾਨ। ਆ ਦੇਖੋ, ਹੁਣ ਆਪਾਂ ਇਹਦੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਜਾਵਾਂਗੇ, ਫਿਰ ਆਪਾਂ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਝ ਦੇਖਾਂਗੇ। ਇਹ ਉਹਦਾ ਘਰ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਉਧਰ ਉਹਦੀ ਕੰਪਨੀ ਹੈ, ਉਹ ਵਾਲੀ ਕੰਪਨੀ ਹੈ। ਕੀ ਹੈ ਵਰਸ਼?
ਟੈਲੀਫੋਨ ਸਿਟੀ।
Into the bellows underneath the keys, and as you play the keys, it pushes the air through different sizes of reeds. It sounds kind of like an accordion, but they were selling these at that time as being sort of portable, like an electric. Film New York Facts. You don't need to film me. I'll just be talking in the background. So Alexander Graham Bell didn't grow up here. He was 23 years old when his parents brought him to Canada.
Okay.
But he was the reason they came. He was hoping for his parents at a time before microphones and other things like that existed. Teaching his students how to speak in public, project their voices without damaging them, was important. He also studied and taught linguistics, so how we make the sounds we make. And he spent about a decade developing his own phonetic system, visible speech. That's just one chart from it. He identified 129 different sounds that the human voice makes, regardless of language. A technician or an engineer. He was a school teacher. So when he went back to Boston in September of 1874, he found an assistant, Thomas Watson. Thomas Watson worked at an electrical workshop that built like telegraph equipment and what they call electrical novelties. So like doorbells and weird, things that were supposed to be medical devices that didn't really work. Anyway, so Thomas Watson thought this sounded like a really interesting project, so he was on board. So on the desk we have models of his first 3 prototypes. No museum has his first 3 because he didn't actually save them. He took them apart. But what we do have are models based on his plans. So this is what his first telephone transmitter looked like that he tested in June of 1875. So this is where you can really see like the ear as the influence. So this is like your ear canal. So you would speak like this.
Okay.
And then the drum, which is made of a very thin leather, would vibrate. And as it vibrates, this piece of metal attached to it also vibrates. And it's vibrating in and out of a magnetic field around this magnet. He had read about the British scientist Faraday's induction coils, so using electromagnetism. And so the wire wrapped around the magnet would then, there would be an electrical current produced in that would flow at the same frequency by wire, and then it would attach to the transmitter, which is basically a telegraph or receiver. So as the electricity flows through these wires, there's an electromagnetic field around it, and that magnetizes the metal, and it would be changing strength as the frequency changed, so it would make that vibrate. So you hold that to your ear and listen. Now, when he tested this, it didn't work as well as he hoped. Like, you could definitely hear a sound. You could tell it was someone's voice. You just could not understand what the other person was saying. So, back to work, and on March 10th, 1876, he tested this transmitter in his workshop in Boston. So, the cone helps make it louder, and then his assistant said they should try a liquid battery, a cup of sulfuric acid and water with a little piece of metal suspended in it. So Alex spoke into this and said, "Mr. Watson, come here, I want to see you," and wired in across the hall, listening to that receiver. Thomas Watson heard him clearly. So that test happened in Boston, but Alec knew he needed a phone that was going to work over longer distances, and so he designed a third version. So this is what he brought to Brantford in the summer of 1876. So that's the transmitter and that's the receiver. And he got permission from the Brantford Telegraph Office to use their telegraph lines to connect his equipment. That way he didn't have to string his own wires, and he could show that you could use the existing telegraph network. And so the first test was on August 3rd. He had this in the Brantford Telegraph Office speaking, and a friend was speaking, and then he had this receiver in the village of Mount Pleasant, just down Mount Pleasant Street, listening, connected in the telegraph line. The second test was the party, where the three young ladies sang and Alec played music into the transmitter in the telegraph office. Well, here on the veranda, his parents' friends listened to that. And then the third test was August 10th, 1876, and he let everyone know that he was doing a test between Brantford and Paris, Ontario. And anyone who wanted to take part could, either speaking in the Brantford end or listening in the Paris, Ontario end. And a test that was only supposed to take an hour ended up taking 3 hours because of that. But that's considered to be the first long-distance telephone call. The central exchange was connected to one of those sockets, and then when you wish to make a call and you picked up your phone, either the little tab above your socket would fall, or later on a light would come on, and the operator would know that you wish to speak. Then she would plug in, she would ask you which number you wanted, you would tell her, she would plug into that number with the next plug in the pair, and make the other phone ring. So Canada didn't have dial phones until 1924, but they didn't really become popular until the 1940s, because then they had to switch to dial telephones. And for a long time too, the companies didn't hire designers to make the phones look nice. It was just kind of like, did work and was easy to assemble. Yeah, people didn't like how machine-like they looked. So in 1932, the first industrial designers were hired to actually make phones look good. So that's when that desk phone came out. But then you could only get it in black, and people wanted to customize the colors. So eventually they started making them in different colors and then different styles. So, either tapping on the mouthpiece or actually talking. And we also have a lot of Alec's mother's artwork in the house. So his mother, Eliza, was an artist. Becoming popular, so the shower head there, and the pipes lead to a tank that collected rainwater from the roof of the house. When we first built it, it was strictly cold water there. And once, even these old stoves, once you kind of get to know your stove, they all seem to be very settler stories of having to go out into the woods and, find your little piece of land, and a big piece, and chop down all the trees and build Alexander's father, Melville, thought the perfect spot for his telephone business office. And so for 3 years, the Bell Telephone Company of Canada was run from the Henderson family's living room. And so how the business worked was Melville Bell was sort of,
Is there open or just like that?
they're just, just like the sofa or settee. Those both belong to Alec's grandfather Bell. They'd inherited all of his furnishings when he died. In the late 1800s. They're a bit more expensive, and those ones you actually do kind of need to look after, whereas apple trees don't really need much. They get pruned. There were a couple of different factories in Brantford making them, and had his mother even mentioned a washing machine, they likely would have bought her one. So it would do a load of laundry in about half an hour, but you would have to power it. You would be standing there pulling that lever back and forth to
So
operate the agitator.
the operator is
Yeah, I can
moving
open it
this
up and
one?
show you. Yeah, here I'll show you.
okay. So you put the clothes here.
Yeah, these little pegs go in. It's just we haven't had water in this in a little bit,
Okay,
so
that's fine.
And then so you put the hot water, the clothes, the soap.
Yeah.
Put that down, and then you stand on this side, get the flywheel going, and then
Okay. Then you keep moving like
yeah,
this.
yeah. It really, once you get momentum, it's not that hard. And then once the clothes were clean, you took them out, you rinsed them in clean water, and then rolled each piece through the
Oh,
wringer.
this is for squeezing.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay,
So then
okay.
that way they weren't sopping wet; they were just damp when you hung them up,
Yeah.
so they dry faster. And then that is also for laundry. The copper boiler is where you would put all your white cotton and linen undergarments. And then you would use the hand agitator. It looks like a plunger. Or later on, a light would come on, and the operator would know that if you wish to speak, you should plug in. She'd ask which number you wanted. You'd tell her she could plug into that number with the next plug-in pair, and put together a phone ring. So it was Canada didn't have dial phones until 1924, but they didn't really become popular until the 1940s because people who were happy with having telephone operators, but during the Second World War, a lot of the telephone operators either joined women's military units or started working like for government communications. So then they switched to dial telephones. And for a long time too, companies they didn't hire designers to make the phones look nice. It's just kind of like, did it work? And designed for long rings, and hopefully the person at the other end heard that. But an American agent came up with the